more than 80% of female youth vote went to Mamdani. Genuinely, like this is just a matter of life or death for young men, okay? If you want pussy, you need to stop acting like such a goddamn lunatic, okay? This is nature prevailing. This is a natural biological regulatory mechanism, okay? If you engage in hoe-scaring behavior, you get hoe-scaring pussy, that is to say no pussy, okay? It turns out, yeah, being a degenerate loser, woman-hating, life-hating, self-hating freak does, in fact, not woo the broads. Young men also went Mamdani plus 40. Yeah, but that's like a 40-point difference. Yeah, young people turned out for Mamdani, but plus 80 is psychotic. A plus 80? That's insane. It's a brave new world. Plus, not everyone's in New York, right? What about young men from neighboring states? What about young men in New Jersey, you know? If they want some of that new yussi, when they're visiting, they're going to need to rethink their behavior. I've seen so many Nazis seethe over how all the hot girls like Mamdani. Yeah, 100%. It's, again, this is why you can't build a national movement out of being an incel. And by the way, the only way you can be a young Republican these days is by being some kind of like psychosexual monstrosity, some kind of woman-hating freak. Like that's what it's all driven from, you know? It's all grievance politics and whining. These aren't people with sincere political convictions. It's all incel shit, right? But the schism is growing ever greater, man. It's getting wider and wider and wider. I'm sorry, there are social consequences to being a loser freak. There are. That's why they fantasize all the time about women being made into trad wives and the 19th Amendment getting repealed and women being forced into subservience, and they love the concept of it's like the Nick Fuentes line, which, I mean, leaving aside the fact that he's gay, the whole I personally find women detestable, but politically enjoy the idea of them being subservient. Why don't you have a girlfriend? Says Tucker Carlson. Nick's like, it's the girl's fault, you know. I'm politically in favor of their subservience, but keep them away from me. This is not a winnable formula. You people are going to be miserable for fucking ever. You're going to be miserable forever. Forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, man. Jesus Christ. And you're not going to breed, and you're not going to reproduce, and you're not going to fucking replenish the white race or whatever. Whatever the fuck you people are so concerned about, you know? Loser behavior. Fuentes literally got doxxed because he said, your body, my choice. The incel shit is not popular. Yeah, but, like, it also lays bare the dynamic, right? Because, like, Fuentes, we all know this, finds girls icky. That's not a joke. He's said different versions of this, like, hundreds of times. His aversion to them, not like a political not like, I don't find their intellectual engagement tasteful or whatever, but like just doesn't like being around them. That's well known, right? So when he says, her body, my choice, he's vice signaling. He's not actually fantasizing about it. It's just a show of political power, right? I think this is one of the reasons why femboys are so right-wing coded, right? Because there are like guys out there who like the idea of an equitable relationship with a woman, or at the very least with a very attractive feminine person, but they can't stand the idea of that person being a woman, right? There's something conceptually detestable about them being a woman. So if you have them be a femboy, but like anime femboys just look like women. Let's not, like, I've been outside in the real world, okay? I know what feminine guys look like, all right? I see what they're drawn like online. Yeah, okay. You're talking about anime girls with a dick, which, like many such cases, but I think a lot of it is just because there's something very off-putting and you know, like aversive, you know, they don't like it about the idea of just spending time with the woman normally. They're too alien to them. You know what I'm talking about? I can't relate to this at all, because if I'm talking to a guy or a girl, I'm just mostly thinking, you know, this person's a waste of my time. I could be at home doing my dailies, you know. But I treat them equally like that. But I think for these people, you know, if you imagine the intimacy of a relationship, if you had to force them into a position where they were doing that with a woman, they'd be like, this is denigrating to me, politically denigrating. But if it was with a guy, then they're like, okay, well, now it's just one of the boys. There is a reason why the femboy thing is such an obsession with the incel 4chan neo-Nazi far-right crowd. Like, there's not, that shit didn't come out of nowhere, right? Anyway, but you know, I'm going off or whatever. At the end of the day, when you develop a version of conservatism that is based more or less entirely out of psychopathic hatred towards women, you can't be surprised that women aren't turning out in favor. And then they complain that the 19th was a mistake. Women aren't voting for my rape all women, proposition. What's wrong with them? They get all mad about it. You get me. It's so goofy how many men never grew out of the girl's icky thing from early childhood. Yeah, and there are women who think that guys are icky, but then they don't become neo-Nazis over it. I don't know, man. Like, some of them do. There are some femcels who go fucking insane, but like, a lot of guys need to be. I'm just embarrassed, to be honest, to be associated. They got to try better, okay? We're getting let down right now. Fellow white male Volk, okay? Men of the vest, like myself, a Polak. We need to be stronger. We need to do better, okay? The vest calls for us. For anyone looking for a deeper dive on femboys and fascism, I recommend this video. It's okay. Did you cover that insane Cosmopolitan article of the woman dating only MAGA? That one was crazy. You mean inside my year-long attempt to date only conservative men? I spent nearly a year on a conservative dating app as a liberal. Here's what I've learned. Or is there a different one you're referring to? Either way, I can't read Cosmopolitan online without, I'd need to be gifted a link or whatever the equivalent would be. CNN has a video about it.
CNN's Donny O'Sullivan got in the cage with former UFC star turned podcaster Jake Shields to explore the manosphere and why exactly it's so popular.
They speak liberal, they have liberal friends, and then they go online and they are a white supremacist.
Because people act in ways that allow them to acclimate to social groups, especially people on the right who are on average lower IQ, lower education, less principled, less emotional stability. You would expect them to be like really weak. They want to kind of acclimate to their social group, so they want to have cool liberal friends in person. But then they want to go online and be, a neo-Nazi. So why you got to grill your friends, man. You got to make sure they're not trying to fool you, trying to pass one by.
This is Vera Papasova. She spent the last year dating far-right men in New York City for a story for Cosmopolitan magazine.
They're the most insecure men I've ever sat down with. It was really difficult to have some of these dates because they were so insecure, because they don't really know who they are and they don't know how to figure that out.
She said the men she dated got all their news and information from the so-called manosphere.
They did not listen to anything else. They're only listening to independent media, and they're only listening to men talking to men.
The manosphere is made up of macho podcasters and influencers.
There's no such thing as an independent female.
Most women have zero concept.
It's crazy how quickly the online landscape changes, right? These people are so much less relevant since Trump won. Like, all of these, outside the mainstream, daring manosphere, like mavericks, all became irrelevant when their guy became president and then shit himself and blocked the Epstein file release. Like, the whole pretense, the whole, house of cards came tumbling down instantly,
Of white money.
Females don't have independent thought.
It's a space where
That
UFC
shit's
fighters are among those who reign supreme.
They love the UFC guys. They love the MMA guys.
Isn't this the Hitler loved brown people, he just hated Jews guy? Myron Gaines? Yeah. This is the guy who was like, Hitler would have loved me, and then the Nazi YouTuber Zoomer Historian put out a video saying, no, actually, Hitler did hate black people. But he was doing it from a pro-Hitler standpoint. Like, basically, get out of my cool niche hobby. You're taking all the pussy away, You're hoovering it all up.
Those who reign supreme.
They love the UFC guys. They love the MMA guys because those guys do what they can. They're
gay.
Modern gladiators. They're badass.
Badass like Jake Shields, a former UFC star turned podcaster.
Nice.
Now I'm starting to feel nervous. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course.
Who I met at an MMA gym in Las Vegas.
Like all great MMA pros. I've never hit anyone in my life.
I'm not punching back. Hit me. No, I sit right here. KO.
What the fuck am I watching
This
right
is CNN. Do you miss being full-time pro, like in terms of?
You know, of course I miss it. To go from professional athlete, which is the highest of highs, to retirement.
Jesus Christ. I don't think I've ever seen Jake Shields outside of his old picture on Twitter. I didn't realize he had that much of a meth face. I understand that when your job is getting punched in the face, you're going to have a little bit of like, you know, you're going to have your features rearranged a little bit, but there are some features there that I don't think you can be punched into.
You have to find, the podcast has helped. You could fall into depression if you just go from the most amazing career where you're famous and spotlights to all of a sudden you're a nobody.
Sure.
Like other podcasters in the manosphere, Jake regularly hosts controversial guests.
And I named the podcast Fighting Back. I feel like we have to fight back what we're told we're allowed to do. I just don't like to be told you're not allowed to talk to this person. Like, why can't I talk to him? I'm not.
This is the way all of them talk. They never actually defend specific beliefs or principles. It's always like, I should just be able to do whatever I want. Their only real position is their own. And this is one of the reasons why their movement fails. Why it is failing right now. They can't actually lock arms and stand by a cause, even if it inconveniences some of them. All of them, their only real principle is their own maximization of happiness. Their own money, their own grift. That's their only real abiding principle. These people won't take a fall for anyone else's sake.
I agree with his ideology, but I should hear what he has to say.
He's hosted the former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan.
Why are we? I thought we were looking at the lady who was fucking the conservative. I don't give a shit about this guy. He's literally a Nazi pedophile. I don't care. What is it? He's talked to racists. He is a racist. I don't fucking okay.
To a political meeting.
And did they talk about politics?
Barely. They talked about, it was a bunch of men complaining about girlfriends and wives, regurgitating Andrew Tate type of advice about how to train your girlfriend, how to train your wife to be submissive. And so this group was supposed to be a political group, but they're talking about relationship problems. And the fact that that's what most of the time was spent on, you don't need to be a neo-Nazi. You need therapy.
The appeal of Jake's podcast speaks to a need among young men in this country that Vera says can't be ignored.
You have to incentivize someone to want to be better. You can't just say, let's make men better. The thing about these guys is their biggest support system is online, but that also is very isolating, and isolation is what breeds hatred.
Groups like Patriot Front offer community.
This rhetoric feels super outdated. This is from 6 months ago, but it feels like it's from like 2019. I guess that wouldn't have been an Andrew Tate time. I don't know, 2022. It's weird. It is weird. I guess the point here really is don't scare the hoes. Didn't someone link the article? Yeah, but now I'm over it. What's your opinion on the everyone is 12 now theory? Tweet for reference. No, I'm familiar with the tweet, and I think the theory is largely true, you know. I think that's what happens when you don't believe in anything, and the like social capital on your side of the aisle is driven largely by like vice signaling and performativity, you know? Frankly, when the head of your party is Donald Trump, it's difficult for everyone to not be 12. In part because that's what he's into, and also because like he talks and thinks like a 12-year-old. You know, it's kind of dragged the country down with him to an extent. More so, everyone is 12 and incel. Yeah, but being an incel is an extremely 12-year-old thing to do. Like it's literally like the metastasization of all of the inept sexual insecurity that you feel at the very beginning of puberty, but it just develops and continues as you get older. You know, I would say to an extent every 12-year-old is an incel. You know, in a spiritual sense. You stare at the back of the head of the girl in front of you in class for 10 whole minutes, and then at the end of class, she doesn't psychically read your interest in her and tell you that she wants to get ice cream with you. What the fuck? What a bitch, right? I'm telling you. But then one day, you know, hopefully, unless you die, you turn 13. And then you can, like, I don't know, talk to girls a little bit more normally.